11. Okay, wind gusts now starting to pick up, 25 to 30 miles an hour tonight, close to the coast, still around 25 back into Bangor, Waterville, and Augusta, around 20 or so in northern Maine. No big deal. Once we get to 2 a.m. though, look at how these wind gusts ramp up pretty quickly. We'll see wind gusts 40, 45 miles an hour possible by about 2 a.m. But here's where the big story happens. 3, 4, 5 a.m. Now we're talking about the potential for wind gusts at the coast, 55 to 60 miles an hour. Once we get to around that 55 mile an hour wind gust threshold, that's when we start to really see those power outages. Of course, we don't want anyone to lose power, but the potential is there. This is why we've been talking about it for the past couple days, and this is why we're still talking about it tonight. So, of course, I want you to be prepared tonight. You want to charge those cell phones, have your iPads charged, helpful for light, right? If you have to wake up or something in the middle of the night, maybe, have your heat on, anything like that. But just be ready for the potential of power outages overnight tonight and through the morning tomorrow. Those wind gusts will still stay fairly high going through the rest of the morning. Let me slow down so you can see. Once we get to about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you can see it's still breezy. Look at this. I think this is a new model run. Bar Harbor, a wind gust of up to 67 miles an hour. I don't think we're going to quite get that high, but I could see 60 to 65. It definitely could happen. We can't rule it out, unfortunately. No one wants to lose power. Of course, we don't want anyone to lose power. We don't want anyone to be hurt. But it is something to consider with this one. It does look like we could really see wind gusts quite this high. So that's how that goes. Let me show you the high wind gust map. Yeah, the wind gusts will start to die down as we go into the late morning and early afternoon hours tomorrow. So good news there as far as that goes. So overall, this is the wind threat. This is where we think the highest gust could be, around 60 near the coast, back into Lewiston, Augusta, up to Bangor around 50 or so, and then farther to the north, closer to 40. So let me take a look at all your questions. Let me just read through these for a minute. Again, thank you guys all so much for joining me tonight. I feel like I haven't seen you on the Facebook for quite some time. If you have any questions about the wind or anything like that, let me know. I'll leave this map up so you can see again what about you can expect as far as the wind gusts go. I know some people will be surfing tomorrow. Be careful for sure. I know. I'm sorry we're getting bad weather too, but we like to keep you updated, so that's what we're doing tonight. Of course, we're going to be on 11 tonight. We have full coverage of everything. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, and I'll update you again for sure then as well. Someone's asking about the wind tomorrow night. Once we get into tomorrow night, we should be fine for the most part. I know people are asking about flights and school closings and stuff. The school closings, of course, just depend on if you have power or not. If you don't have power, I'm sure your kids won't be going to school, but it's tough to say. We're really not going to know, of course, if it's a 55 mile an hour wind gust and we're kind of right on the edge, or if it's a 65 mile an hour wind gust and we're talking tens of thousands of power outages. Hopefully, it's the lower end, but if we get into those 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts, that's when we do talk about more power outages with this one. Plus, we're going to have all that rain coming down at the same time. A saturated ground, plus the fact that most of us still have many leaves on the trees at the coast, not a great sign. In the winter, when we have storms like this, right, the trees don't have any leaves. We don't have quite as many power outages, but it's going to be interesting to see the fact that many of the trees closest to the coast do still have their leaves. That's not great as far as blowing branches down and stuff like that. People are saying not going to be any leaves left tomorrow night. I bet you're right. I'm sure some people are taking some before and after pictures. Again, it's hard to really pinpoint where those power outages will be. People are asking, is my town going to lose power? Of course, I can't tell you that. I'll say the closest to the coast, that's where the highest winds will be, and that's where the highest potential for power outages will be. If you generally lose power in a storm such as this, plan to lose it again. If you sometimes do, you may want to plan to lose it again. We haven't really seen wind gusts quite this high if they do make it to around 60 for a while. A lot of people are asking me about this, and I think this is really interesting. People are asking me, remember that storm we had 2 years ago at the end of October 2017? Portland had a wind gust up to 69 miles an hour. I don't know that we'll get that high, but you know what? I think we'll be kind of close. That storm, though, we had an already completely saturated ground, and we had winds from a different direction. So remember how long we lost power for, or how many people lost power with that storm. I don't think it's going to be that storm. less wind, less saturated ground. Also, the winds are coming from a typical direction for most of us from the north and east. So I don't think it's going to be like that, but definitely something to worry about. And I get why we were getting those emails. So those are great questions. Yeah, tree branches are heavy with acorns. They're falling all over my neighborhood too. Again, with the leaves still on the trees, with the wind gusts possibly around 60, not a great situation. I'm not hoping anyone loses power. You know, I'd rather have wind gusts around 45 or 50. I'm just saying I don't think that's what we're going to see. The forecast looks good. The last model run, the wind speeds actually went up. Usually as we get closer to a storm, I shouldn't say usually, but sometimes when we get closer to a storm, the wind speeds generally, I feel like, trend down. This one, they went up. Not a great sign. So I just want to make sure that everyone, that was my reminder to bring in rain boots for Mike, which I did, so good. I just want everyone to be safe with this one. I want everyone to be prepared. I want you to charge your phones. I want you to have everything ready for tomorrow. I'll scroll through the rain real quick one more time for everyone just joining us. It's so lovely to see you on this occasion. I feel like I haven't seen you for a while. It'll be more exciting when we're talking about snow. No one wants to be talking about power outages, but let's go through the overnight hours tonight real quick. 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, you can see rain in Portland and in Lewiston. 2, 3 a.m. heavy rain now starting to move into York County. As we go into 4, 5 a.m. some pretty heavy rain in York County at this time. Cumberland County up to the mid-coast starting to see some moderate to heavy rainfall too. Augusta, Waterville seeing heavy rain, just about to move into the Bangor area. 4 and there's 5 a.m. Look at that heavy rain band back in kind of western Cumberland County, almost northern York, southern Oxford County. We could definitely see very heavy downpours overnight. And like I said before, if you were here joining us, when the heaviest rain falls, that's generally where we'll see the strongest winds too. What's happening is the water's kind of, picture it all falling just as a sheet. It takes those very gusty winds aloft and just pushes them to the surface. That's when we get those strong wind gusts of 50, 60 plus miles an hour. So that's what we could see around that time. It's going to be an interesting storm because most of us, I think, will be sleeping. So you may wake up to these heavy downpours, these very gusty winds, and you may unfortunately wake up with no power. Hopefully not, but again, something to certainly be prepared for tomorrow. I think we will be dealing with some power outages certainly in the morning and for the morning show. Let's keep going through the timeline. 6, 7 a.m. It's actually starting to clear out of far southern Maine now, but look at Rockland up to Bar Harbor along the down east coast, starting to see heavier rain. Bangor certainly seeing rain at this time. It's starting to get heavy in Bangor around 7, 8 a.m. The winds will be gusty, same thing along the down east coast as well. And that rain will continue for northern Maine through the late morning hours, but southern Maine really starting to dry out at this point. Temperatures tomorrow, again, I know you probably don't really care, but they'll be in the low to mid 50s. But again, the big story with this one, not just the rain, but also the wind. Winds will gust tomorrow, tonight, 25, 30, no big deal. But once we get to about 2 a.m. tomorrow, we're starting to see those winds gust at the coast around 45 miles an hour. We've seen this in storms. Again, not a huge deal. It's this that's really a big deal once we get into 3, 4, 5 a.m. or so. Along the coast, you can see those wind speeds, wind gusts, I should say, anywhere from 50 to 60 miles an hour. Once we get to that 55 mile an hour wind gust speed, we've been told that's about the threshold as far as power outages go. So something to certainly consider. It will have been raining for a few hours at that point. The ground will be soaked. And certainly, not a great situation as far as the power outages go. And as we go through the rest of the morning, the winds will start to die down a little bit. You can see along the down east coast, though, look at this, Bar Harbor, 67 miles an hour around 8 a.m. I don't think we're going to quite make it that high, but I would not be surprised to get a 60 mile an hour wind gust out of Rockland and certainly Bar Harbor. It happens. I could definitely see it happening again tomorrow. Again, we don't want anyone to have power outages. We would rather not deal with 60 mile an hour winds. Of course, we all live in Maine too. We don't want to deal with it, but it looks like it is happening. So it's why we're here, to keep you informed. So in general, the wind speed map kind of looks like this, closest to the coast around 60. As you head back kind of along I-95 from Bangor, Waterville to Augusta and over to Lewiston, closer to 50. And then farther to the north, we're closer to 40 miles an hour. Again, people were asking me, well, how does this compare with that storm back in October of 2017? It's not the same thing. It's a totally different thing. But back then, Portland had a gust of 69 miles an hour. I don't think we're going to get quite that high. So thank you guys so much for joining me. There's been a lot of you here. I appreciate all of your questions and comments. Again, we'll be keeping an eye on this all night. We'll be here with you all morning tomorrow. We're going to have, I believe, we're going to have Storm Center again tonight. We had that earlier. I will be back at 11, and we are going to talk about everything again. Then I'll have any new updates for you. I'll try to go through and answer some of your questions. There's a lot of them, and I appreciate all of them, and so I'll try to get to what I can. I'm going to get ready for our 11 o'clock show. I'll be on Facebook and I'll be on Twitter, so feel free to send your questions. You can post them here as well. I enjoyed chatting with you all. Everyone get ready for tomorrow. Charge your devices, have your car ready, bring in your Halloween decorations, and you can put them out again this weekend when it's gorgeous. Again, thank you for joining me. Have a good night, and we will see you again coming up at 11.